Alright, we should be live. We're back. We're working on Vivi. Here he is in case you need a reminder of how he works because you haven't played standard in months and you I don't know. I don't know how you avoid Vivi at this point, but anyway, here he is. Here's our good little magic boy. And we are down to 180 cards, so we just need 120 cuts and he will be good to go. Alright. Take a quick peek at the list, see if there's anything that obviously can go at this point. I'm leaning towards Stone Calendar. By the time you get this thing online, it's not as helpful as a lot of the other cost reduction effects that we're running. And I was a little reluctant to put it on the list anyway, so I think we are going to get rid of Stone Calendar. Also, while it's not super expensive, it is an old reserve list card, and I already have enough of those on the list that you would need to replace if you don't have a ton of money, haven't been playing since 1994, and or don't allow proxies in your playgroup, or your playgroup does not allow you or anybody else to proxy anything. Or not just be you they don't allow. Everybody else can proxy whatever they want, but not you. You need to own the cards. These are fine for right now. I might cut Pendulmus and just leave it as the option for people that don't have Tabernacle. But I'm still not sure on that. I think the Crown of Flames thing is funny, but also don't really need it, so. I need to make 120 cuts, so let's get rid of anything that I look at. I'm like, I really don't need that. This isn't doing anything amazing in the deck. Like, the thing that it's doing is good and useful, but no, I need the amazing things, not the good, the okay, the so and so. Do I cut Mind's Desire? It's definitely not bad in the deck. There's a lot of powerful things to hit off of a Mind's Desire if I can chain like 2 or 3 spells in front of it. I could also just hit a handful of land and be done with it, but at least if I hit spells and they're not creatures, they're going to grow Vivi some more, but the problem with this thing is that we have things like Pneumonic Deluge, Mizzix Mastery, Spell Twine, like all of them are guaranteed to hit impactful spells, but also most of them are based on spells that have already been cast. Like we need to know. We need to have cast or milled or otherwise gotten them into the graveyard, and then we get to cast the big powerful spells. So, whereas Mind's Desire just needs things to have been cast in front of it, and it will do the rest. Also, hitting Mind's Desire is one of the things off of Mizzix Mastery is just absolutely absurd. In fact, hitting Mind's Desire off Pneumonic Deluge, where you cast it, and so that's one spell cast in front of it, and then you cast the second copy, and that's 2 spells cast in front of it, and then you cast the third copy, so you actually get the 1 plus 2 plus 3 extra triggers, so that's like 9 Mind's Desire effects, rapid succession. That all being said, it's okay. You know, it might be able to go just because we have better stuff. I also don't know if I need Isochron Scepter. I do have plenty of 1 and 2 mana spells that I would not mind having under Isochron Scepter, not the least of which is a way to phase Vivi out just to protect him. Like, if I have a Reality Ripple or something on Isochron Scepter and Vivi's just safe until they kill my artifact, or until they can kill Vivi in response, then I'm feeling alright. Gotta be honest, I don't think I actually need Doubling Cube. Like, I'm looking at it and it's like, yes, so it's 3 taps, so you need to have at least 4 mana in your mana pool when you activate Doubling Cube, and it's very easy to do that with Vivi. You know, once he's up to 4 or more counters on him, having the Doubling Cube in play, which probably got him one of those counters, is now making even more mana. I'll keep thinking about it. That's like the best use for it, is to just add Vivi's mana and then double it up, so that way I have access to more mana from Vivi. Not doubling it up. As long as it's greater than 3, increasing it by that much, but however much greater than 3 it is. If it's. Oh wait, hang on. No, it's 3 tap. How much mana do I need for this thing to work properly? So I need to have 7 mana, right? I'm doing the math wrong, because 3 of it gets spent, which leaves me with 4, which doubles me to 8. Right, because I'm not taking into account that you're losing 3 mana in order to activate this thing. So you need 7 mana? No. Never mind. Reason why I have a math fail emote. But that doesn't mean I can't get there. Enza's fine. I don't know how much of the equipment is actually going to make it through to the end. The Planisphere almost definitely makes it. That one's actually in VV on Brawl, because it just does exactly what VV does again. Like, it's not dealing the extra damage, but it's putting the extra counters on him, so that way he can add extra mana. So it's doing, like 70% of what VV's doing when it's attached to him. Also, it allows you to make a second dire threat that's not VV, that even if they deal with VV somehow, they still have to worry about the stupid token. And that has come up a few times, although that comes up in a heads-up version where you only have 20 life, so I don't know if that's going to quite be able to cling to the win rate once it's in Commander. I'm looking at Sakashima and I'm thinking about, I already cut Irenicus' Vile Duplication. Like, Duplimancy is absurd with Vivi, but that's because I protect him with targeted effects. So if you try and kill Vivi with a Duplimancy out, I might have 2 Vivis instead. Whereas if I play something like Sakashima or Irenicus' Vile Duplication, something along those lines, then if you kill Vivi in response to the thing that I'm going to use to copy Vivi, or force me to phase him out or anything like that, then I don't get my second Vivi. And while second Vivi is incredibly powerful, I don't think it's quite. I think I would be better off with, like, the only other one I want to run, the one that would actually require Vivi to be in play, is the one from Doctor Who, because at least then, if I get a copy of Vivi, I'm also getting a copy of Vivi next turn and triggering the other 2 Vivis. So the fact that it has Rebound, and Rebound is strong with the things that I'm doing, makes me want to keep that. Yeah, maybe we lose the 2 Sakashimas because of that. Like, I need to make room, and they're kind of underwhelming in that I need Vivi to live while trying to cast these things, and That's like the best time to try and get rid of Vivi is when he's about to be two Vivis. Break trap. I'm really hoping Cast Through Time makes it all the way through, but I don't know that it's going to. Like, it's expensive and clunky, but once it gets down, it's very, very strong. And I have a few enchantments like that, and I'm really counting on Vivi just, adding 5 mana to make that thing happen. That way I still have like 3 or 4 mana left over to counter spells and protect Vivi afterwards. I like Eel Umbra because it can save Vivi from a Wrath or a targeted destruction spell, but it can't save him from, like bounce effects or exile effects, so it's another one of those. It's saving him from stuff that other things can't save him from. And it also triggers him, and while it's functional, gives him an extra point of power so it can be put on him proactively if I've got a safe spot to do so. Especially if I can still phase him out afterwards, so that way I can choose which one. If he's going to get destroyed, we just let the totem armor fall off, and he loses a power and toughness, but he's still in play. And if they try and exile him because he's protected, then we phase him out. Out of all of the fancy do-nothing enchantments, Inexorable Tide might be the weakest. Like, Cast Through Time is doubling up on our spells. Future Sight is giving us access to the top card of our deck each turn, or each time we can play it. Trying to think what some of the other ones are. Duplimancy can clone Vivi. Inexorable Tide is just giving him an extra counter. If it were dealing an extra damage, if it were full on copying his trigger where he dealt an extra damage and got an extra counter, I would probably run it at 5 mana. I think we lose Inexorable Tide. It's not doing enough. Torpor Orb. We probably don't need Snapcaster, honestly. Like, Yaga's fine, but really don't need creatures besides Vivi. Like, the creatures that are in Vivi on Brawl are Brawl, Hullbreaker, Horror, and I think I cut Jingataxis to make room for Curiosity. I cut, like, the more expensive, locks you out of the game once we're at that point creature for something that will just let me get to the end game faster. Once I finally realized that Curiosity um, was on Arena due to the reprint in Wilds of Eldraine. Yeah, I think I just glossed past the artwork, forgetting that that was Curiosity. They had let actual Curiosity onto Arena. We're gonna keep Enter the Infinite for now, and we'll see where we wind up at. Those are all fine. I can see cutting Astral Cornucopia. I do like Everflowing Chalice in this deck because there's a lot of different things. The upside, though, to Astral Cornucopia is the same one as Chalice. It's worse the turn it comes down if you're only using it as a 3 mana rock. Because there are a lot of other 3 mana rocks that would be a complete wash with Vivi, where he's getting, you take the banner that gives +1 power to creatures of the color of your choice, or the different banner that gives +1/+1 to the two creatures of the creature type of your choice. One or the other of those goes really well with Vivi. By buffing him and giving him the counter and tapping for mana. So that way your 3 mana rock technically was free. Honestly, I'm also not sure about Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise because both of them are eating up the graveyard, and I do run like Mizzix Mastery, for example, and Mnemonic Deluge and Spell Twine, and I really don't want the big bomby spells or even a critical mass of them to get exiled. Casting Mizzix Mastery with Vivi has been one of the most backbreaking things. I've actually had opponents stop and let me resolve the entire chain, and only to find out that no, I am actually casting enough spells to kill you now. You might not have thought I was, but when I start trying to counter my own spells and counter the counter spells to put more triggers on the stack, since there's things I can be casting anyway, and I want all of those triggers, you actually die to Mizzix Mastery and a fully stocked graveyard. So why should I help anybody else out by getting rid of the cards? The problem is it's still, Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise. And if I don't have Mizzix Mastery and I do have one of them, it's probably still worth casting and exiling a bunch of the cards out of my graveyard. So we're going to leave them on here for right now, but they are kind of on the chopping block also. Ally Shift can stay, Baral stays, Disallows good, As Foretold. As Foretold is only going to be really good if I'm proliferating. Like, if it's getting counters also, then, like, more than one per turn, so that way I can actually cast a 4 or 5 drop spell, a turn after it comes down, then that would be really strong, but I'm already getting a ton of mana from Vivi, and proper mana management is my mantra for playing Vivi properly, but I don't think As Foretold is worth the card slot. Because there are going to be times where I cast it and it's not helping with my mana at all because I don't have a 1 or 2 drop spell that I'm trying to cast off of this thing yet. And I haven't found one, so it's just kind of sitting there being clunky and only having added 1 counter to Vivi the entire time. Yeah, still debating those, but they're down in the card draw section, so we'll debate them down there first, and their merits versus other card draw spells. True, we have Finale of Promise, too, which is another, I'm going to cast the spells from my graveyard, and it's going to be glorious. Light Cut Ral. Do love Embercleave. And stop twitching. stop right-clicking when I don't mean to. Well, Breach stays for now. Lord Dracus is fine for right now. Yeah, remembering that he would also add 2 power to Vivi by existing attached to Vivi was the thing that got the Lord Dracus to stay on the list. I was about to cut it because it's not a creature and I can only mutate once, and then it's like, but it would also add 2 power to Vivi by virtue of being a 2/3 that mutated onto him. Epiphany, Burgie definitely stays, saw it coming, and Vecna still debating. From the card draw section, Astral Anger, Hullbreaker. Not sure about Invoke, but I think it stays on the list for now. We'll wait until we're closer to the end. Arcane Bombardment. The fact that it's at random and I have a lot of counter spells in the deck is not great. Like, it's really potent if I can get enough things underneath it, but it's once per turn. It is once per turn every turn, though, not just on my turn, if I cast an instant. on my opponent's turn. Each turn. Okay, so I can theoretically chain together. It stays, but I think I'm going to wind up cutting it eventually, so. One with the multiverse, experimental augury, Robresk. Shapecraft, of a Nor, Stress Rage, the two Oyears. I'm probably not going to wind up running Relics Roar and Behind the Mask, so I can probably cut Relics Roar, but we'll wait a little bit on that. Make sure I don't want to cut one of the other pump spells instead. Could be Personal Tutor. If ever there was a deck for Personal Tutor, though, this would be it. Possible I have a few too many things like Spell Twine that are just big expensive things that are designed to cast smaller expensive things or other expensive things. Yeah, sorry, Wildfire Elemental. I think you're really cool with Vivi, but you're also a little bit of a clunky creature. So, safe to get rid of that. Niche Fury might be able to go. Patient, Talisman, Prodigy, Ragavan. Maybe Strike It Rich can go. It's kind of low impact. Like, yes, I get to spend a red and Vivi gets a counter, so it is functioning as a ritual. Then later on, I can spend 3 to get a counter and a treasure, so I wind up only spending 1 theory. Probably don't need it, though. The question is, would I rather have, like, Strike It Rich, or would I rather have, like, Lotus Petal? Because I can't grow Vivi a second time with Lotus Petal. But on the other hand, Lotus Petal is just ignoring the red and giving me my treasure and in itself as itself and putting the counter on Vivi. So no mana needs to be spent ahead of time to get the 2 mana. Yeah, Lotus Petal's better at that point. If either of them are going to stay. Only 9 cuts so far? Uh Sakashima, so that'll be 10. Six Mastery, Conqueror's Flail, Fierce Guardianship, yeah, not reflecting, deflecting SWAT. Ripples of Potential, Brick Amplifier, Ball Arm. Disalignment. Verse Eternity. Alright, so I managed to cut 10 cards. I think that's not terrible as far as just going through the list and acknowledging stuff that I don't need anymore, but... So 110 more cuts and we're good to go. So I just need to do that 11 more times. Be good. Debating if I even need the Archmage of Runes. Similar to the other creatures that I've been cutting, he's kind of medium in that I don't really protect my creatures well unless I'm protecting all of them or unless they're named Vivi. So, like, I don't really want to have to protect an Archmage of Runes in order to keep drawing cards off of him. I'd much rather be able to keep Vivi safe. The upside, though, is protecting him will draw me a card at least, so there's that. Started to think Dig and Treasure Cruise, and possibly even Precognitive Perception can all go. They're all more expensive than my other things, so... Leave Future Sight. Leave the Archmage for right now. I think they're working at cross purposes with a lot of my other things, so... The upside, though, is that if I were running Arcane Bombardment specifically, it's really easy to control what card winds up getting under there when it's the only one left in the graveyard, and then Dig Through Time or Treasure Cruise are now the only one left in the graveyard. But it does make the other ones worse, so... Let's just get Expropriate under Arcane Bombardment. That seems reasonable. Yeah, I think I do cut these two, though. I have so much other card draw that's drawing about the same number of cards and, or looking at a bunch of cards and then getting the two that I want from them that aren't costing me most of my graveyard for later effects and don't require the setup of having a graveyard to be castable. I'd much rather have a 4-drop draw 3 than an 8-drop draw 3 that sometimes I can cast for, like, much later in the game for, like, 3 or 2 mana. If I'm being honest. I know it seems a little counterintuitive. I have all these cheap spells to draw me cards, and then I don't want Treasure Cruise or Dig Through Time to draw more cards, but I do think it's actually working out that way. It's also possible I cut Insight. Like my other mass card draw spells where it's uncapped, I have more control over with things like Ophidian Eye and Curiosity, whereas Insight requires the opponents to do something. Now, granted, if they're green, they're not going to be able to not trigger this thing some amount of the time, which is why it's worth considering, and I'm sure I'm going to run into, like, base green ramp decks that are particularly potent. If I'm playing Vivi, I either have decided that the rest of the table is insane and I need to be able to compete with them, Or I've just had enough today and I would like a win. Like, those are the two reasons you break out Vivi. It's kind of the same reasons why I break out Nin. Like, either the rest of the table is like tier 4 bordering on CEDH, or we're all like tier 3s, but I've been on a bad losing streak and I just need a nice easy win real quick before I put that one back away and go back to one of the other decks. So do I want to cut Insight then? The biggest problem with Insight is I'm going to cast it and then not draw cards right away. That is the biggest problem with it. All of Vivi's other card draw spells potentially draw cards right away. The only ones that can miss on that are if I don't have a follow-up for Curiosity or Ophidian Eye, then I also don't get to draw cards that turn. But yeah, I think I can cut Insight. I probably want to get rid of Precognitive Perception too. 5 mana, draw a card just isn't. Draw 3 cards isn't doing a whole lot for me. Even if sometimes I'm going to get to scry 3 first. Do I cut Rhystic Study for the same reason that I'm cutting Insight? Honestly, I think Vivi's okay with wasting opponent's mana if they're not going to let me draw. Which, they almost definitely should not let me draw if they can help it. Yeah. Yeah, Rhystic Study can stay for right now, even though I'm probably not going to get many, if any, cards off of it. Just constricting the opponent's mana when I'm already trying to stop like 2 to 3 people from killing Vivi. Three, four. Alright, let's get rid of these then. Dig. Cruise, because all the treasure tokens. Oh, also, it's literally right there, right? Site. Precognitive Perception is right around here. Oh, right, it's near the other Insight. There it is. Alright, so that's 4. 4 more off the list. How are we doing time-wise? 30 some odd minutes in. Yeah, I might still wind up losing the Archmage. I'm debating some of the cards that can exile, like Jessica's Will and Expressive Iteration and Light Up the Stage. Because they're just so bad when I hit reactive cards, things that I have to protect Vivi, and things that I have to, stop what opponents are doing. I'd just rather draw those cards than exile them and have access to them. Yeah, I can talk myself into at least the light up the stage, and probably the Jessica's will too. If it let me add mana of any color instead of the red, I might still consider it just for the ramping that it allows for. Yeah, let's get rid of these two also. Alright. Making progress. How many card draw spells do we still have on the list, by the way? Because, yes, I want Vivi to have access to a lot of card draw, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24... 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. So right now, over 50% of Vivi's deck puts more cards into his hand. That is not leaving nearly enough room to protect our little small wizard boy and ramp into him, so some more of this is going to have to go. I'm just trying to figure out which ones could be expressive iteration again. And in my Brawl VV deck, I don't run like Opt or Consider, but yeah, I don't have room for some of the smaller, like one mana cantrips that aren't doing a ton else. Like we already don't have the draw one, like Serum Visions is already not on the list, so it's possible some of the other ones aren't going to make it either. Honestly, we can probably cut Mystic Remora, whereas Mystic Study is going to keep putting pressure on the opponent's mana. Mystic Remora is going to put pressure on my mana eventually, like, where I'm just going to have to pay for it using Vivi's mana. Which is neat and all that he can do that and keep the thing going to frustrate opponents and force them to let me draw cards, but eventually they're just going to try and kill Vivi anyway, and if I draw a card that counters it, good job. because they need to get this stupid thing off the table, and the only way they're going to do that is if Vivi finally dies. And in the meantime, I'm not really getting to benefit from the mana until I just stop paying for it on my own, so... Yeah, I can see cutting Mystic Remora. More cards overall, but none right away, so... Yeah, I'm just looking at all of them, trying to decide. Like, I suppose we can lose Opt, since it's just a worse Preordain anyway. Excuse me. This is starting to go a little bit. I do kind of need to make room, so... Also be Expressive Iteration. One of the weird things about the deck is I do have a lot of cards that look at cards and put them in my hand without actually drawing them, but we also have Proph's Eidetic Memory, which is still really strong. Like, just playing the memory gives Vivi 2 counters and draws me a card. One from when it comes down and one from the beginning of combat. So... it's kind of hard not to want to run that. And most of it is card draw, but there are a bunch of them that, you know, Factor Fiction is not card draw, Memory Deluge is not card draw. So there is a lot of non-synergy between the cards, but at the same time, I need the ones that let me see the most cards and get them into my hand, and a lot of that is card draw, so memory is still good at that point. Okay, let's get rid of Opt and Mystic Remora. Sanctuary, Tutor, Remora. Sorry, Mystic Remora. Alright, down to 162. Honestly, I can probably cut the Ruby Medallion. Most of my spells still are blue, and I don't have quite enough red ones where this is going to do as much as I would like it to. Like, I'm much better off discounting my instants and sorceries than I am discounting my red spells right now. I have a few more than I do for Brawl VV right now, but, you know, that's just because there are older red spells that actually work in the deck. But still, most of them are blue. Like, just look at this. I think we've seen Lightning Bolt. We're down into, like, Tempest and Stronghold, and I think Lightning Bolt is the only red card. Oh, I'm sorry, Chain Lightning. And neither of them get discounted anyway. From that, so... yeah, we have yet to scroll past a card that would get discounted by Ruby Medallion. Still nothing. Still nothing. I'm really curious what the first red card is now that would even get discounted. I look at all these cards. Because I don't think we've hit one yet. Flame Slash is a single red mana, so that also does not count. Alright, I was kidding before, but we have not actually hit a red card that costs more than one red mana, that has any way to be discounted yet. There we go. The invent side of invent. We had to get to Guilds of Ravnica from the entire history of Magic before I came across a spell that costs both red mana and at least one colorless. Or one generic. And Finale of Promise, Ral, yeah, okay. Now we're into it. I think Ral still gets to say. Well, Breach is fine for now. So part of me is debating with all the other time walks if I need Alrund's Epiphany, and part of me is debating should it just be what's its name? The buy a box promo with Sarkin on it that time walks and then shuffles back into the deck for 7 mana. And is an instant. Nexus of Fate. Yeah, I'm debating if it should just be that, so that way I have the inevitability. As long as I can cast and resolve Nexus, it doesn't matter, because Nexus itself will be a point of damage to each opponent. So it makes it nearly impossible for the opponents to live through getting down to the last card in my deck and having it be Nexus of Fate and just being able to ping them to death with it. Yeah, I'm not sure yet. I think I would rather have the things like Wrecking Ball Arm or the things that are protecting Vivi while also buffing him. And Tenza is +3/+3 and trample for 1 mana once it's in play, so you can probably lose the Hand of Vecna, honestly. Alright, that's 20 cuts on the day. We're a couple minutes early for quitting, but I'm starting to slow down the process, so rather than keep pushing it for a few more minutes to maybe make one more cut, we'll just pick up next time. So that'll do it for me for right now. I'll probably be back on doing like one draft of Edge of Eternities and or Edge of Eternities Alchemy. Just because that's the way I've been doing it lately. Like, I have an okay draft, anything from like actually good to we managed to get to like 3 or 4 wins, and then just not doing another one because Edge of Eternities has kind of messed me up a little bit. Like, I think I'm just in a bad place generally, and Edge of Eternities has not been helping at all. Like, I do not. I am not having as much fun with Edge of Eternities as I've had with several of the previous Magic sets, and I'm also not winning as much. And, like, if I were not having as much fun but winning, I would still be doing a whole lot of drafts because, overall I'm winning, so might as well keep going. create that content and have plenty of VODs to work with, but I'm not winning and I'm not having fun. Even if I were having fun but not necessarily winning, as long as I'm not getting horribly crushed, I would keep going too. It's like, okay, I'm only getting like 2 to 3 wins on average, but I am having fun with all of those wins, and none of the games feel like they're stomps. They're just, not going my way. Then, yeah, I could also do a lot of drafts with that set. But that's not the world we live in with Edge of Eternities. It's okay, though. Spider-Man will save us. Everybody gets one, right? I don't want to be looking forward to a Universes Beyond set to get away from a actual Magic set, air quotes. But because I have said it's like I would rather do like weird Magic space opera than Universes Beyond Star Wars or Star Trek or something. But that's not the world we live in right now. All right, enough of me and my negativity. I've just been down on Magic overall, but I've been having fun with Vivi, so I had to build him. Vivi makes me happy. All right, thanks for watching. See you next time. Have a good rest of your day.